The creator of a blood testing company has been convicted of fraud in the US after duping investors and patients into backing revolutionary technology that she knew didn't work. Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes said her company's labs could scan for hundreds of diseases and health problems by taking just a few drops of blood with a finger prick test. But the 37-year-old now faces up to 80 years in prison. Legal experts, though, say she's unlikely to get anything close to the maximum sentence. Let's take a look now at how Elizabeth Holmes created and subsequently destroyed her company. Elizabeth Holmes dropped out of Stanford University in March 2004, soon after founding Theranos. Its name was a combination of therapy and diagnosis. By September 2015, the company was worth $9 billion. Holmes, who still owned 50% of the company, was named one of the richest women in America. But just a month later, the Wall Street Journal claimed that Theranos' blood testing technology was so flawed, the company was actually using equipment made by other businesses to carry out tests in its labs. In May 2016, Theranos voided 2 years' worth of blood test results from its testing devices, leading Forbes magazine to lower its valuation of the company from $9 billion to $800 million, and Holmes' net worth from $4.5 billion to zero. Then, in March 2018, Holmes was charged with a fraud following more than $700 million from investors by exaggerating or making false statements about the company's technology, business, and financial performance over a series of years. In September 2018, it was announced that Theranos would be dissolved. Then nearly 3 years later, in August 2021, following delays due to COVID and Holmes' pregnancy, her trial began, ending in her conviction yesterday on 2 counts of wire fraud and 2 counts of conspiracy to commit fraud. Well, our business presenter, Ian King, is in our City studio for us. Just reading that detail there, Ian, you can really see just what a meteoric rise and fall this was. Tell us more.
Yes, that's right. Elizabeth Holmes, who very self-consciously modelled herself on Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, even down to wearing a black turtleneck sweater. She was a college dropout, left college at the age of 19 and founded Theranos thereafter. So a real success story in terms of Silicon Valley. She attracted a glittering array of investors, among them Betsy DeVos, a former US education secretary. Her family invested tens of millions of dollars in the business. Another investor was Rupert Murdoch, the billionaire media tycoon, and another was one of the heirs of Stavros Niarchos, the Greek shipping tycoon. All of those people put money into the business, and indeed Betsy DeVos was one of the investors who was named in the indictment. And there was a veneer of respectability provided for this company, Theranos, by the number of people that were on its board. They had no fewer than 2 former US secretaries of state, Dr. Henry Kissinger and George Shultz, 2 very distinguished US diplomats. Both of them were on the board of Theranos. And it was really an investigation by the Wall Street Journal that brought the business to its knees. The Journal ran a number of investigative articles by a reporter called John Carreyrou, who went on to write a very successful award-winning book, Bad Blood, about the crisis. And it was that really got people questioning as to whether all of the produce that Theranos was making were really cracked up to it. An interesting aspect of this case, by the way, is the fact that there were also indictments on whether patients were deceived, not just investors, but patients. And interestingly enough, the jurors found Elizabeth Holmes not guilty on that. It's been suggested that's because there wasn't sufficient evidence available for prosecutors to make a conviction, deliver a jury, get a jury to find her guilty on that count. But nonetheless, as you say, potentially a big prison sentence lies in store for Elizabeth Holmes. It could be quite a while, though, before she's behind bars. The sentencing hearing may take up to 6 months. and there may even be a retrial on some of the 3 counts that Elizabeth Holmes, the jurors, couldn't find, they couldn't come up with a verdict on that. And that may in turn be complicated by the fact that Sunny Balvani, who's the former chief operating officer of Theranos and Miss Holmes's former lover, well, he's also facing charges as well. So that may complicate any retrial. Now, during the trial itself, Elizabeth Holmes accused Sunny Balvani of mistreatment of her, forcing her to have sex against her will. She actually said that on the stand as well. And that's been termed the Svengali defence in legal circles. And John Carreyrou, the Wall Street Journal investigative reporter who blew the lid on this whole story, he actually tweeted this morning, the Svengali defence did not work. So there are a lot of twists and turns yet to come in this company. A lot of lessons also for Silicon Valley, where, of course, you have this really freewheeling culture, vast sums of money being ploughed into tech startups, not all of them potentially all they're cracked up to be.